Ladies and gentlemen, the Hive is live. Bring your vision. This is how we build 1,000,000 cups.
Okay, I'm on. All right, woo! The banner's coming up. It's getting very real.
1,000,000 cups.
Hopefully that works. Good morning, good morning. Thank you for being here. I love the intro music. As always, thank you to Trevor for being so creative all the time. I see some new faces in here. If I didn't get a chance to connect with you, or Claudia or Trevor, please connect with us later. We love to know who you are and what you're about, and how we can bring you into the 1MC community and the entrepreneurial ecosystem community. You are at the 1MC. It is an event that happens across the nation every Wednesday, most of the time at 9. Ours is unique at 9:30 because we have such amazing chamber folks so that they can attend. But we're growing back in numbers, and the 1MC is supported by the Kauffman Foundation, a very large philanthropy that's been around for a very, very long time. And this was their vision in supporting entrepreneurship in communities and becoming an economic driver in communities. And so they felt like they were doing this work at the high end, and they needed to be more on the grassroots level. So that's where the 1MC happened, to allow entrepreneurs, nascent, aspiring startups, people needing to scale, to get on the stage, be elevated in the work that they do, and allow us to support them. So they get 6 minutes. Today we have one presenter, someone who was one of our first presenters when we launched the 1MC last September. So we were over a year old now in our community. And then the other part that's really important about this 1MC is one that we support the entrepreneurs, because it's not easy to get up here on the stage. And I've been with a lot of you over a year and seen your growth from being up here and building your confidence. But it's about the feedback that you all share and give. So we have a 20-minute Q&A session. So if you have something you want to share, a question, like anything, please raise your hand. We'll pass mics around, and please share your extraordinary knowledge and the things that you have that maybe are going to help an entrepreneur move things forward. Before we bring up our presenter, I was in Georgia, and I was sharing with Trevor. There were 2 conferences back there. One is called the Startup Champion Network, and it was in Atlanta, and then we stayed in Augusta and went over into South Carolina and some pretty remote, impoverished areas and regions. But what stood out to me was, one, just how proud I am of us as a community and the work we're doing. Because some of these communities have been at it for 14, 15 years and don't have the traction that we all have. So bringing people together isn't easy. Entrepreneurial ecosystem work is exhausting, I will tell you. There's some days I think, how can I even get through another day? But it's so satisfying and worth it. And it's so worth it because of all of you, the relationships, the change in our communities, our economy. So I came back tired, but extremely infused to continue this work and to continue building upon what we have. So again, thank you all for being here. Elayah is here, and Elayah started, gosh, is it September, October? Got up on stage, had this wild idea and all these beautiful visions that she was thinking about. And then again, here a year later, kind of a reformation and that new vision. And so I'm very excited for Elayah with Co-Creation School to join me on stage and present. Can we welcome Elayah?
All right. Hi, everybody. This is so nice. A year ago when I presented, there was probably about a quarter as many people in this room. So it's really nice to see familiar faces and to meet you all for the first time, if so. So I have evolved my business idea quite a bit, and it's actually more than, I wouldn't even call it, it's hard to call it a business because it's more of like a lifelong dream that I didn't even realize all the foundations and pieces for it until recently, relatively recently. And so today I'm talking to you specifically about the Co-Creation School as a PTA. I just established a PTA, which is stands for Parent Teacher Association, but it's basically like an educational nonprofit, and it has there's a lot of freedom with what we can do with these PTAs. The mission of my specific PTA is to provide connective life skills opportunities for kids of all ages and their parents, and to help establish more micro schools as part of our community. I'm going to go into why I feel that is incredibly important. So a little bit about me. I have an acupuncture business. I'm a private provider, and here's just like a kind of a combination of all the things that I've been up to. I've published a couple books. I've self-published them, and I've also been running a micro school out of my own home this is the 3rd year that I've been doing it, and it's been wonderful. It's been a lot of fun. It's, in fact, I feel like this is my personal way of addressing the change I want to see in the world. I want to see the families become more nurtured with not just the medicine. You know, I offer acupuncture's holistic medicine. I specialize in treating kids and teens with, holistic, very gentle treatments and herbs. But I also feel like the education aspect is just as important, because that's how we are raised, that's how we are told how the world works. And so if a child doesn't fit into the typical system, the typical institutions, what are the options that they have? And I feel like micro schools are the answer. And I feel like everyone deserves to be nurtured in their own individual way, and how they're going to be able to blossom according to their own needs. And so this is my vision for what our PTA could offer for the community. So I want to offer consistent classes for all families to come out and learn a skill together at various locations. Mike, I have a lot of questions for you all today, so please bear with me, and if you feel free to ask me questions as well. I mean, that's what this is all about. This is why I love this place. So how can we best implement this, and where could we do this? How could families provide input on what they want to learn, and how could we find instructors? Grants would be needed to fund these events, or they could be. I would love to be able to start doing these events so we can show a need for them. That's usually how we're able to get grants for things. And being a PTA, I forgot to mention that the benefits of a PTA is we are eligible for grants. We are eligible for affordable insurance to cover everything that we do. And we're also able to have a lot more, what do you call it, like organization and influence in the community. I also would love to partner with other organizations and nonprofits. So why this is needed and what it can solve. So this is complementary to and can be an alternative to public schools. This assists students who are consistently costing schools resources and funds for their unmet needs. And we hear about this all the time. So much of our schools' funds are going towards kids that are becoming problematic for their system, because let's be honest, we don't fit into a box. We're not made that way. We can't just say, oh, one size fits all for everybody. And I feel like the public school system has been totally taxed, and they're not providing everything they need for every student. And so I feel like we can start small with some events to bring families together to learn meaningful life skills. And then also, like I said, as my micro school has shown, we can provide more of these types of micro schools all over the community. So that way students get individual attention. So also this, like I said, reconnects families, and we can build securely connected, solid communities that are interdependent in the face of government corruption, lack of services, and volatile changes and agendas. How many people were totally freaked out about that food stamp scare? And what about the toilet paper scare just a few years before that? That doesn't have to happen. We don't have to be afraid of what's the next agenda, what's the government going to do, what's the next president going to do. What if we just solidified our communities? What if we decided, hey, we can use some property and establish a farm, and people can volunteer their hours to help raise the animals and grow the food, and then before you know it, we have our own food supply, and we're healthier for it. And we're learning really valuable life skills. So another thing is what we're doing as a PTA can provide a model for micro schools and resource building community opportunities that can be adapted anywhere. And I mean anywhere in this world. Because tell me one place in this world that doesn't need something like this. So this is my favorite slide, because this is my big ask. How can we support each other? Anyone can join a PTA for our PTA is just $12 a year, and that's literally just to cover what they ask me to pay. And then how could we collaborate to include your business in our work? Maybe you have a skill to teach the community. Maybe you want to bring whatever it is you're passionate about to the families that want to know about it and that want to be able to do their own version of it. Yeah, would you like to teach a skill? Do you see a common need that we can address with our services together? You see this passion right here. You see how fired up I am. I am so excited about whatever I can do to collaborate with somebody who has that same sort of passion and energy. So this is watch out, my grand vision. This might be a lot to digest. So my book, which we saw earlier, I'm just going to go back really quick. This one right here, Captain Love Scream in the High Seas Teens. This was inspired by the first year that I did a micro school. And I realized I want to take a school all over the world and help other people in different countries establish their own schools. And so I wrote a whole book about it. It's on Amazon, on my website. I mean, if you're really interested, let me know. Take some pictures of my slides, and we can talk later. But I believe that co-creation schools can be established on farms worldwide to address food, life skills, and resource security, preserve cultural traditions and heritage, and connect all ages to the land as responsible, self-sustaining stewards. This network that we can build together would be created for farmers, teachers, parents, and students to stay connected, build strength and expanding to serve more areas, have a solid global resource directory, and share stories and practices that work efficiently. So my question to you is, how can I practically make a living doing this? How can I exchange my service for either like basic needs while I travel? How should I offer, coaching or administration in person and online? Seriously, anyone can do anything they want these days with the right website and personality. And I just want to be able to live my highest potential and take my medicine on the road, which is, my physical medicine has been acupuncture. You can't really practice in every single state, without a license. Though I've heard there's some countries I can go to and practice because it's not regulated, but that's just one example of what I have to offer. What else could I offer? I can coach. I can help people set up their schools as an admin person. I can help connect places with the resources that they need. And again, I know this is a lot, but I feel like it's possible, and I wouldn't have this drive if it wasn't possible. And so I hope I inspired somebody today to also think outside these systematic boxes that we've been living in. And if anything, maybe these ideas can filter on to somebody who can apply them practically. I'm just one person, but I am so open to collaboration, and I'm so excited about, again, building this team. What can we do together? Because I'm fired up, and I really feel like this is my life's calling. So, thank you.
What a great presentation. You and I met a little over a year ago, and you had all the ideas and all the things, and I love that you have streamlined where you want to go with this. That was a lot of work, and you did an amazing job, so super awesome. All right, guys, questions. I'm sure there are some.
I've got a question. Back, hey.
Oh.
So PTAs, my understanding was like they're just I just think about the PTA that was associated with my own elementary school growing up. So, you saying a PTA is kind of confusing. Can you kind of talk about what a PTA actually is?
Sure. I'd like to consider it as more of an education-based nonprofit. And so we're providing services to the community. My PTA covers everything I do as a micro school. And I'm still getting a lot of clarification around it because I did just establish it. But the idea is, in the state of Oregon at least, PTAs can be started, you don't even have to necessarily be affiliated with a school. It's something that provides resources, educational resources for a community. And so my PTA, like I said, is associated with my personal micro school, but I can establish various locations and very easily transition my PTA into a community PTA, so that way we can have a network of micro schools here in our community. Not everybody can drive 20 minutes out of town to come to my micro school, and then I'm only one person, so it would be nice if there could be other families to do their own micro schools for the kids in their neighborhood that need it. So. And
then would it just, you could start with pop-up events that aren't land tied, or people need to go to some place in particular.
Exactly.
So you start with building a community with different skill activities. type of
Yeah,
thing.
that's my idea for like to get it all started, because nobody's going to be like, okay, I'm going to start a micro school right now. But I mean, that would be great, and I want to be available for that. But I think once people start coming out, especially with their kids, not just dropping them off places, but actually learning skills with their kids. Once they do that, they can be introduced to the idea of like, oh, I can run this out of my home. This single mom right here has been running this school out of her home for 3 years and like not even charging full tuition, because most of the time the parents can't pay. And it's fine, because I've always found a way, and the PTA will help people with that as well. Like again, with our grants, if they see a need for it, if people are like, I really want this, and these students in my community, they need this, then we will find a way to get the money so that they can have a feasible school running out of their home, or at a local place like a library or whatever, some sort of location.
Sorry, one more. So then you can do even activities or things nights and weekends, because I feel like that's such a gap
Right.
for
Absolutely.
nurturing activities for families or grandparents or
Yes.
anything like that.
Yes, I hear that. And I just want to be able to address what the needs of the community. So yeah, more questions like that. Thanks.
Hello, good to see you again.
Hi, good
Hi.
to see you too.
Have you partnered with charter schools, homeschools, and private schools?
Actually, yes. When it comes to charter schools, they have offered me a position as a vendor. And so places like Open Ed, which is my favorite online charter school that I found, because they give a very generous amount of money for families, and it's very easy to get into their program. If a student is enrolled in Open Ed, they can actually get tuition reimbursement funds. So they can, that really obviously helps our school be able to afford more materials and do more activities. Reach Academy has had us listed as a vendor for a while too. So yeah, I think that's one of the best ways of partnering is just, reaching out to those local schools and be like, well, how can your students benefit from what I have to offer? So yeah, thank you.
What I'm wanting is kind of the unsexy work of like organizing what exists already and what kind of options are there for the variety of services you could potentially provide, be they kind of a la carte one-off events or activities, or like a micro school that might have the potential to take over the entire educational journey of a single student instead of public schools, and like everything in between. It seems like there's a lot of different ways this could manifest, and probably a lot of people who are already doing bits and pieces and parts of this that you probably know, because you're somehow affiliated with Options for Education, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So as like a general member of the public and someone who would like to be involved and teach and things like that, I would love to. That's what I desire when I'm hearing you talk, is like, let's really drill down and like who has what already, and what are the needs, what are the possibilities, and I think that would be necessary for scalability too, right? Like, is this a possibility for an alternative to school? Or is it also possibilities to supplement current public schools? What are those two or three or 5 or 10 different tracks? Like how might this be implemented? I want it all like broken down for me in like really plain
Cool.
language on a
I love
website.
that.
And it might be on a
Yeah.
website already.
Yeah.
But
my website's kind of wordy.
I think if we don't
but-
do that work of like what
Yeah.
exists now and what could we possibly do, then it's always going to be kind of one-off, like, oh, this person knows a lot about trees, which I do, by the way, and I love to talk about trees.
Nice.
Let's organize an event this weekend, or this business wants me a part of their thing this summer, and it's going to be like this continued sort of like piecemeal, that might feel disconnected and not be able to be transitioned to lots of communities around the world. For example,
Right.
The scalability would need like some serious like organizational plug and play type action.
I'm
So
visualizing a graph.
love
And,
love the
of,
graphs.
This is where you start. This is your journey. Here's an option. You can go this way, or you can go this way, and then you can do this, and
Get
this,
some
and this.
Excel going.
Yeah. The visual is important. Thank you. 'Cause I'm
And
a visual
congratulations,
learner,
and
too.
I love it all, by the way. I forgot to start it that way.
I appreciate that.
Well, and I think the beauty of it is one of my besties in Arizona, they started a micro school, and theirs is on health, wellness, and leadership. So the cool thing, like what she's saying, is if you had a plug and play, it might not necessarily, like you said, all kids learn different. All kids want different focuses. So it might not necessarily be farming and earth and things like that. It might be other aspects that you're filling a need for. So if you could do the A plus B plus C equals a micro school, then it would be something that would be scalable.
Yes, I've been incredibly flexible. I feel like that's the way to do it these days. You have to be flexible with, like I said, the needs of their community, the needs of your students. And so even though I envision these schools being on farms, because I think that's the best location for a school, being out in nature, but then also having other things, having accessibility to technology and all these modern things as well. And yeah, to answer all those questions too about like how can this help people? Well, tell me where people need help. That's how it can help people. It is literally like, I am that flexible. I am formatting my program to be that flexible, and I just want to come through however I can. So.
Hello. So I was homeschooled my entire childhood until I went to college, and my kids go to a charter school now. So big fan of alternative education. A little unclear on what the micro school is actually doing, though. Is this something that they would actually end up going through an entire like K through 12 type program and getting a diploma with, or is this more supplemental and they would still need to be going to some other sort of program, charter school or otherwise, or is this effectively like a homeschool co-op? What's the distinction?
Awesome. That's a great question, because I'm sure a lot of people are thinking the same thing. So it's really up to the parents and the journey of the student. It's, for example, my school this year is offered 2 days a week. It used to be offered 3. But this year it's been working out where we were doing 2 days a week. And some of the students, they do online schooling as well. Some students have the option to go to other schools at the same time if that's what they need. Some parents are really set on their kids getting a diploma. And so they can do both concurrently, or they can do what my kids are doing or what my son is doing, and they can go to the school, and then they can just get their GED and take classes at RCC when they're 16 and get their GED, which is the equivalent to a high school diploma these days. We're really lucky to live in the state of Oregon, because I think Oregon has been incredibly supportive and lenient with homeschooling. I haven't had to report to anybody when my son turned 16 to go to RCC. They're just like, oh, can you sign this thing that said that you homeschooled him? And he didn't really have any transcripts or anything from his he did have previous schools that he went to, but he was a part of homeschool co-ops for a couple years. And I mean, there's not really a difference between a homeschool co-op and a micro school to me. Micro school to me just means that, under 15 students. And a homeschool co-op is more like the parents are more involved. And the parents at my school have been involved as much as they can, ideally, like I keep saying, I keep going back to that slide of building a team. I want to find other people that want to do this with me, who are serious about it. I've met so many people that love the idea, but it's really hard to find people that can commit to it unless they have a kid who's going, and attending, and they want to be a part of the process with their child. And so I'm just putting the feelers out still of calling in people that want to be a part of this community. And I do want to, the idea, and if you go to my website, you'll see more, is that the idea is to build communities out of this. And that's why I want to address the whole needs for family activities in the evenings and weekends, provide events, consistently, ideally once a week, so people can feel like they have a community. And then we can kind of grow from there. Okay, what are your specific needs? Do you need to could you join this micro school I established? Or what about these other homeschool groups? Or what is it just, community that your child needs right now because they're not really feeling like they're fitting into their public school? Or maybe they are going to public school, but they're just not, there's something else that they really need to learn that's not offered there. Or there's so many different possibilities that, and in this world, we have all these options, which is amazing. And so I hope that kind of answered your question about what micro schools are. Yeah, to me, they're just small groups of students, and ideally, a few parents helping out here and there. And yeah, many options.
Hi, Elayah. I'm Camo, and this is my husband, Banjo, and I just wanted to jump on as an member of the PTA and of the Co-Creation Schools PTA. And also our son has been attending her school for most of last year and this year as well. And I just wanted to jump on and kind of say how, like, my experience with it. I've never had such a holistic, nature-based approach in any learning that I've participated in. And our son gets to really kind of pick the curriculum. You know, she starts out by asking what the kids are interested in, and then pursuing the curriculum based on that. And they get to come in and put their little clay figurines that they made based on like what emotion they're feeling, and just like at the beginning of the class. And it's just been really awesome experience for us to have it be so different than public school, and to be able to kind of pick what's happening next. And you know, we got to go fishing last weekend, and that's something that I got to experience growing up in Alaska, but you wouldn't get to experience unless you knew the right people. So little things like that, I just think it's really awesome, and I just wanted to speak as an advocate for the Co-Creation School and Elayah and everything that she's building. We're also mentioned in her book, and it's a revolutionary book. It's amazing. So yeah, I love you, Elayah, and what you're building is amazing, and you definitely deserve, this vision deserves support in the community, and yeah, so thank you.
I just wanted to mention something I really admire about it is that the kids are getting something more so than just higher ability. You know, they're getting to explore their emotions and how to communicate with each other and how to work with each other and so on and so forth. By the end of this experience that they have, they're not just going into the workforce. They're, you know, functioning human beings that are able to communicate what's going on with them and able to work with other people.
And build things.
Hi. So elated, that works. And I find the whole thing so primal in that it's earth-based. And I heard the word holistic, you know. It just occurs to me that everybody in this room has a place in your PTA if they have a business.
Absolutely.
Because of the verticality of nature, every step along the way. Mm-hmm. The unsexy part is the sexy part for me. You know, just the sustainability and all that, not all that, all of it. Just honor what you're doing and your tenacity. My question might be, if I could get to that, what's your capacity to reach out to all these farms? And my thought was that every farm is a school and every garden is a classroom. That said, if a farmer's teaching, they're not farming. So there's a kind of a deduct or a counter thing on that. A farmer might have to be like a special guest on their own farm on occasion.
Yeah, we've had farmers conduct classes on their farms where the kids come and they help out as well. So like they're the kids are volunteering, but they're also learning, which is really nice.
I think I heard somebody talk about where you're at right now, and that's my question. What's your capacity today to reach out to, say, just off the top of my 5 different farms and get 6 different schools there on time once a quarter so the kids could experience just the process of the earth doing what it does? And then just to pile on, you know, because I said everybody in this room has a place that once the food's out of the ground, sky's the limit in terms of marketing and promoting and distribution and tax shelters. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, that's interesting. I don't have I haven't tried to get other schools to come out, but yeah, I mean, I'm familiar with some other homeschool groups, and sadly, I know some have fallen apart over the years because the need for it, you know, during the lockdown times, there was more of a need for it, and now people are just, you know, slowly going back to the institutions that are established, and there's charter schools that are becoming more prominent, but yeah, it'd be great, like you know, to have like 6 different micro schools. I couldn't. Public schools, you got a different story. There's a lot of students and there's a lot of admin, and you know they do their own field trips and stuff. But yeah, I feel like the sky's the limit when it comes to like once we establish micro schools everywhere, and we become like a network that's all in communication with each other. Then then we can do stuff like that easily. I mean, there's so many. I think just from my own mind, and then of course feedback from my wonderful friends and my team. We think of so many different like real life skill based activities that we can do in the community, and every week we have a different guest teacher that has a different type of career or hobby that they can offer the kids, and so they get exposed to so many different possibilities. And I think that's what's most important, is that they have a wide range of just things that they can try, so thank you.
I have a two-part question. First question, if I understand this correctly, okay. Are you saying that anyone can join a PTA, whether they have a child who is school-aged or not?
Absolutely.
Even if they have no children at all?
Yes.
Okay, and what does that give them the power to do?
Influence what we do with our events and activities, and just be a part of something that is doing good for the community. I think the motivation would be like somebody who resonates with the message of our PTA and wants to see the change happen, and has time in their life. I mean, I definitely am a busy person, but even I have time in my life to go do things that I feel I'm very passionate about, that I want to help out with. And it's an amazing feeling. I've been learning a lot more about how to receive, because it's been a real challenge of mine. And I've realized that we need to be a part of the circle of giving and receiving. And so many people have so much to give and they just don't know where to put it. Or they're being charged to go volunteer somewhere. Or it's just convoluted. And they're just like, what do I do with my energy? I feel like I want more value. I want to add value to life. To the community around me. And then, so I think it's a wonderful thing, like I said, especially if they see, I want to help offer an alternative to education, because I see my sister's family has been struggling with this, and so I want to be one of those people that helps build, an alternative to the, dead ends that we keep finding. So
basically what you're saying is, if we want to have a maximum impact on how our world is shaped moving forward, we should join a PTA.
Absolutely. There you go.
I'll turn this on. I had the privilege of teaching a financial class to her kids. This was a year ago, just basic skills, how to write a check, how to do that kind of stuff. So I invite everybody to rack your brain about what you currently do and scale it down to maybe what you could educate these kids with, right? So I'm in the mortgage industry, been doing that for years, but I've lived in financial. So we talked about all the unsexy things of writing checks and balancing and budget and what it looks like, and played a little game of if you earn this, this is what you can and can't do. Simple thing. And I mean, beautiful kids, they were so much fun to hang out with and everything else. So I just think, and like you said, Ian, I mean, it's how, if you want to, this generation is what shapes our future. That's who's taking care of us when we're old and gray, and that's the world that we're going to look at. So I love it. All right, one more question. Two, because they both raised their hand at the same time.
Hello. I think we've connected in homeschool groups online because I homeschool my kids.
Oh, wonderful.
So have you looked into, I know there's a lot of world schoolers that establish world school hubs, homeschool hubs, and they're called world school hubs. And I see online a lot of parents or people who want to start similar things to what you're doing and looking for coaching and things like that. So there are definitely a lot of people out there looking for coaching for those sort of things. If you look up, on Facebook, world school groups or homeschool world schoolers is another one. But there's a lot in various different countries where people can just go for 3 months, 6 months and immerse themselves in a program. And there's people looking to start these things and need guidance. So if you happen to stumble on one of these groups online, there's a lot of people looking for these groups. So that's one resource to look into. My kids grew up in San Francisco, and there's actually a lot of micro schools in urban areas as well. So I know, I actually live on a permaculture property. So if you're looking for a place for an event that's in Grants Pass, we could talk. But also in urban areas, there's also a lot of micro schools that focus on kids, giving them more exposure to nature and the idea of urban farming. Like we used to volunteer a lot on urban farms, so kind of that flexibility you were talking about, looking at that as well and connecting to micro schools that already exist in urban areas. And there's really a need for kids in those areas they don't have exposure to nature and farms, and they have no idea where their food comes from. Right? I talked to a grandma I was actually an organizer for a homeschool group for 5 years. And I would take kids on field trips and do things like this. And I took a group once. We went to an urban farm in San Francisco. And it's free for the whole community. You can go there. It's huge. It's like 10, I don't know how big it is. It's this big farm in the middle of the city, organic, in the middle of San Francisco. Nobody knows that it exists. There's housing, like low-income housing, right next to the farm, and anybody in the city can go there and pick their own food and fruit for free, and nobody goes there. I mean, there are some people, but it's a lot of people who are volunteers, like we went. So there's a lot really in need. And I talked to people who are, and the group that I brought there, I was telling them, okay, go ahead, you guys can pick whatever fruit you want. And one mother was like, oh, I don't pick my food. I don't do that. I have to get it from a store. I'm like, but this is where your food comes from.
I think you made a really good point right there. But why aren't people coming to this? I asked myself that question. I'm happy with having a small amount of students because it is just me. But I envision my school. I mean, I have the capacity for twice as many kids as I have now.
Right.
Why? This is my 3rd year doing it. Where are those people? Where are those families that say that they want something different? They say that they want a revolution. They say that they want something more deep and special for their kids. They want their kids to feel honored. But people have become so complacent. Yeah. And again, like I don't want people to be feared into doing one of these things. Right. But like, the evidence is around us that we have become a very unhealthy, unhappy society, and this is a way to becoming a more evolved and more healthy human race. And maybe I'm just far ahead of my time. Again, like all I can do is plant seeds. I'm hoping that, when the world realizes like, oh, I have to at least take the initiative to try this out. Mm-hmm. At least I'll be here to be like, well, here are my ideas. Can you implement them? Right. And so yes, let's definitely talk. I'd love to explore more with you around taking, maybe doing some events where you're living, and then also like hearing about your experiences. And then that was my idea about, maybe on my website I can offer coaching and make some money from doing that.
Yeah, I would look in the World School Hubs. There's a lot actually. Yeah. Like, people use them. It's sort of like a way to have a vacation. Like you can go to Costa Rica and be there for 6 months with your kids and immerse yourself in this program. And I've seen great ones where they're set up in these sort of nicer resorts, but the parents, they have like workstations where they have co-working spaces where the parents can work while the kids are doing their microschooling for the 3 weeks or 3. So it's like a vacation for the parents. They get to be in Costa Rica, and the kids are like learning from different groups. And there's a lot of groups like that. So I would kind of like reach out and see what other people are doing, how you could coach for people who want to start stuff like that.
Yeah, and I have a big heart for low-income families. Most people are going to look at that and be like, I can't afford the world school.
Right. Yeah, there's a spectrum. There's expensive ones, and then there's
because there's so many options for people who have money. Yeah. But like, how do we reach the people that don't? Like, like I said, a lot of the families that have been a part of my micro school couldn't afford tuition, but I made it happen. I will find stuff for us to do that's free if I need to.
Oh no, there's a spectrum. There's ones that are definitely more affordable. Yeah. But I would look into coaching people who want to start things like that.
Thank you. Yeah. I appreciate that. What's your name again?
Vanessa.
Vanessa. Thank you, Vanessa.
Yeah, thank you, Vanessa. We're just going to allow for one more so we can close it up. And then if you have any other questions or want to connect with Elayah, that'd be great. But so we'll allow one more question. What's that? We're good? Okay. All right. We are good. Can we give a hand to Elayah? Thank you for that, Vanessa. Elayah. I don't have the wrapper to rip off of you. Very well done. Thank you for being a part of 1MC. Thank you. Thank you. Hand for Elayah. Thank you, Vanessa, for that information. Again, stay afterwards. It's a great time to connect with one another. And then I wanted to let you know, we're hosting another patent workshop. It is a no-cost workshop with Stuart Incognito. He's going to kind of run through what it takes to get a patent, trademark, or a copyright. It'll be next week after 1MC at 11 a.m. If you've not met him or attended one of his workshops, he's fabulous. He volunteers his time. He is a patent attorney. Recently, I got his license in Oregon, but he's fabulous. And we actually have 4 provisional patents that have been filed because of his work. So yeah, so yay, so yes. There's like 4 different areas. I'm not super versed on patents. Like there's all the realms of different types of patents. So the main thing that he's doing, Jamie, is he'll share all that on Wednesday. The main thing he is doing is that provisional patent that is so important because once you speak about something, you have 1 year to get a provisional patent to protect it. So kind of that partnership with some of the folks in this room that have had different products and things, it just helps them. But I am not super versed, but there are 4 areas in the patent region. He's also covers trademark and copyright. What a great asset. But it is here at 11. Trevor again is our host at the Hive. So if you'd like to just even stop in and learn more. And then he stays for Q&A. But again, it resulted in 4 provisional patents, and one of our own entrepreneurs is actually launching and moving everything forward. And sadly, she moved from here, but it was the catalyst that moved her forward. So anyways, how it all works. So thank you very much for being here. You're a great audience. Have a great rest of the day.